It started with a joke, or at least that's what he called it. We were only a few weeks into dating when he made the first comment. I don't even remember how it came up, but I do remember the way he said it. Casual, almost playful. If I ever kill you, no one would ever find the body. I laughed awkwardly, thinking I must have misheard him. He grinned like it was the funniest thing in the world. It didn't stop there. The next time, it was even darker. I could dismember you and dump the pieces. No one would ever know. Every time he said it with the same smirk, like it was a running gag I was supposed to be in on. Maybe out of context. It sounds like I'm overreacting. He had a dark sense of humor. He was sarcastic, but to me it wasn't funny. It wasn't just words. It was a warning I couldn't shake. I tried to brush it off at first, told myself it was just his way of joking, that he didn't actually mean anything by it. But the truth is, it made my stomach twist. Because I knew the statistics. I knew how often women were killed by their partners. And I knew that every woman who became a statistic probably started with a gut feeling they ignored. I told him, "Stop joking about killing me." At first, he laughed it off. Then he doubled down. "Oh, come on. You know I'd never actually do it," he'd say. "You're too sensitive," I told him again. "It's not funny. It actually makes me feel scared." That's when something shifted. His smile faded. For the first time, he actually looked surprised, as if it had never occurred to him that his words had weight. He sighed and said, "Okay, I won't say stuff like that anymore." I wanted to believe him. I really did. But then, just when I thought we were past it, he said it again. This time I didn't laugh. I didn't even react. I just stared at him, waiting for an explanation. He shrugged. "Relax, it's just a joke." That was the moment I knew something was wrong, because who keeps making the same joke after being told it's not funny? Who jokes about killing someone? Over and over. I should have left then, but I didn't. And that was my first mistake. Looking back, I should have left the moment my gut told me something was off. But I didn't. Because outside of those disturbing jokes, he seemed like a good guy, thoughtful, charismatic, the kind of person who could walk into a room and make everyone laugh. The kind of guy my friends liked. That's what made it confusing. How could someone so warm and charming say something so unsettling? So I stayed. And then came the night everything changed. We had plans to meet his brother for dinner, movies, and games. It was supposed to be a fun, low-key night. But we were late. Over 3 hours late. I tried to talk to him about it as we got ready. Not even in an angry way, just pointing it out. That's when I noticed it. The deep sigh. The way his hands clenched into fists. The way his eyes dropped to his knuckles, like he was wrestling with something inside himself. For the first time, I had the terrifying thought, is he thinking about hitting me? I pushed the thought away as fast as it came, told myself I was imagining things. But that feeling, that twisting in my gut, it never really went away. By the time we finally got to his brother's place, I felt tense. Like I was tiptoeing around something invisible, waiting for a reaction I couldn't predict. I kept it together through dinner, through the movie, through the small talk. Then, as I was saying goodbye to his brother, he walked into the room and said 6 words that made my blood run cold. She should say her permanent goodbyes. The whole room went silent. I turned to him, heart pounding. "What did you just say?" He shrugged. "Relax. It was a joke." A joke. The same excuse. Again. But this time it was different. This time he said it in front of someone else. And this time he was already angry with me. That awful feeling in my gut was back, stronger than ever. I didn't want to get in the car with him. Every instinct was screaming at me to get away, so I did. I walked out. I called my roommate, and I waited. I wasn't sure what scared me more, the fact that he said it again, or the fact that when I confronted him, he had nothing to say, no explanation, no real attempt to reassure me, just silence. And that was all the answer I needed. I didn't go home with him that night. Instead, I sat in my roommate's car, staring out the window, trying to process everything. The way his fists clenched when I spoke. The way his face shifted when I confronted him. The way he said nothing when I asked him to explain the joke. None of it felt right. And the scariest part? For the first time, I wasn't just uncomfortable. I wasn't just anxious, I was afraid of him. That realization hit me like a freight train. I had never been scared of a boyfriend before. Annoyed? Sure. Frustrated? Of course. But this was different. Something inside me had finally clicked. This wasn't just about bad jokes. It was about how he reacted when I told him to stop. And the moment I stopped playing along, the moment I started questioning him, he got defensive, cold, angry. I knew what I had to do. But knowing it and actually doing it were two different things. So when he called me later that night, I answered. I don't know why. Maybe part of me wanted him to say something that would make this all make sense. Maybe I wanted to believe I was overreacting, that he'd apologize, that he'd finally get it. But that's not what happened. The second I picked up, he started in. Are you serious right now? No hello. No, are you okay? Just immediate frustration. I told him exactly how I felt, that I was done, that I didn't feel safe with him, that I had asked him over and over to stop making those jokes, and instead of respecting me, he did it again, while he was mad at me. He scoffed. Oh my God, it was just a joke. You're the problem, not me. I took a deep breath. I started explaining calmly why this wasn't just a joke, how often women were killed by their boyfriends and husbands, how I wasn't willing to ignore the statistics. But I didn't even get to finish my sentence, because he cut me off. Fuck you. That was it. No discussion, no remorse, just pure rage. And in that moment, I knew there was nothing left to say. I hung up, and I blocked him. For the next few minutes, I just sat there staring at my phone, my heart pounding. I expected to feel relief. I expected to feel safe. But I didn't, because something still felt unfinished. I knew what he was, like when he was angry. I knew the way he clenched his fists, the way his voice changed, and I had just embarrassed him, shut him down, walked away. I had no idea what he would do next. That's when I remembered something. He knew where I lived. My stomach dropped. I turned to my roommate, my voice shaking. What if he comes to my apartment? She didn't hesitate. Then you're staying with me tonight? I nodded, gripping my phone like it could somehow protect me. My brain was already spinning through worst-case scenarios. Would he show up? Would he try to force a conversation? Would he be waiting for me when I got home? I had never thought of him as dangerous before. But now, I wasn't sure anymore. That night, I barely slept. Every noise outside made my pulse jump. My phone stayed on silent, face down on the nightstand. I didn't want to see his name pop up. I didn't want to know if he was trying to reach me, because I knew if I saw his name, I might cave. I might give him another chance to explain. And that was how women ended up on the news. So I stayed strong. I blocked his number. I locked my doors, and I told myself, this is over. I had no idea that this was just the beginning. I didn't go home that night. I stayed at my roommate's place, locked her doors, and kept my phone on silent. But I barely slept. Every creak, every sound outside made my heart race. Because I knew him. I knew how he reacted when things didn't go his way. And I had humiliated him. By morning, I expected to wake up to dozens of missed calls, texts, maybe even a voicemail. But when I finally checked my phone, there was nothing. No messages, no attempts to contact me. And somehow, that was worse, because it meant he was either giving up or planning something. I couldn't shake that feeling, that unease in my gut. I had never been in a situation like this before, but I had heard stories. The women who ignored their instincts, the ones who convinced themselves they were overreacting, and I wasn't going to be one of them. So I made a decision. I didn't. Just block his number. I blocked him on every platform, deleted our texts, and told my friends, all of them, that if he reached out, I wanted to know. Then I went to work. I wasn't sure if I'd see him, but I wasn't taking chances. I told my boss everything. I didn't sugarcoat it. If he shows up here, I said, I don't want to see him. She didn't even hesitate. If he comes in, I'll call security. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Because later that day, he found another way to reach me. At first, I didn't recognize the email. It wasn't from his normal address. The subject line was just my name. But when I opened it, I knew immediately. It was him. And it was pages long. The first thing I noticed, he spelled my name wrong. Not just once, throughout the entire email. It was a weird thing to fixate on, but it stuck with me. Because he used to do that when we were dating. I'd correct him, he'd laugh it off. Oh, come on, you know I don't do names. And now, it almost felt deliberate. I started reading. At first, it was what I expected. I don't know how to say this, but I've been hurting. I gave you space? I didn't even know you blocked me. I just wanted us to end things on good terms. The usual. The guilt. The poor me act. But then, it got strange. He called himself a cancer. Said he was a good person who did bad things. That he didn't remember much because of the alcohol that night. But then later in the email, contradicted himself by recalling exact details. And then, the part that really made my skin crawl. I don't want you to fear me, but when we inevitably run into each other, I know we both will. I made my grave. Now I have to sleep in it. Something about the way he said it. It didn't sit right with me. Because why would we inevitably run into each other? I had moved on. I wasn't planning to see him again. But he was speaking like it was a certainty. Like he already knew when and where it would happen. Like it was only a matter of time. I didn't respond. I didn't even think about responding. I forwarded the email to a friend. She read it, and the first thing she said was, "This sounds like a threat." That's when it really sank in. For weeks, I had been gaslighting myself, telling myself I was overreacting, that I was being dramatic. But when I took a step back, everything was there. The threats disguised as jokes, the explosive anger when I pushed back, the refusal to let it go. This wasn't normal. This wasn't safe. And I needed to make sure he never got near me again. So I made another decision. I sent the email to my boss. I told her, if he ever comes near this building, I need to know. Then I went to my leasing office. I need to change my locks, I said. Today. I didn't give them details. I didn't need to. And after that, I never went anywhere alone. Not for weeks. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't just scared of someone. I was scared of what he might do next. And I wasn't about to find out. I thought blocking him would be the end of it. I thought ignoring the email would send the message loud and clear. But I was wrong. Because people like him, they don't just go away. At first, nothing happened. Days passed. Then a week. Then 2. And I started to relax. Maybe he really had moved on. Maybe, for once, I wasn't going to be the girl with the crazy ex who wouldn't let go. Maybe I was safe. But then it started. Little things. One of my friends mentioned that they had seen someone who looked like him near my job. Then, my roommate told me she thought she saw his car parked down the street from our apartment. And then, the emails started coming. Not from the same address. Not from his name. But I knew it was him. Because they were full of the same strange, poetic nonsense as the first one. I don't even know who I am anymore. Do you ever think about how everything ended? I never meant to scare you. You know that, right? I never responded. I didn't even open most of them. But I saw the previews. And what stuck with me the most was that one line. I never meant to scare you. Because if that was true, why did he keep showing up? One night, I was coming home late from work. My roommate was out of town. It was just me, my keys, and the quiet of an empty parking lot. As I got out of my car, something made me stop. I don't know what it was. A feeling. A shift in the air. I turned around, and there, sitting in a car 2 rows away, was him. My blood went cold. He wasn't looking at me. Not directly. He was just sitting there, engine running, hands on the wheel, like he was waiting. I didn't even think. I didn't hesitate. I got back in my car and locked the doors. And that's when he looked up. For a second, neither of us moved. And then, he smiled. Like this was funny. Like this was a game. My hands were shaking as I called my roommate. She picked up on the first ring. He's here. I could barely get the words out. She didn't even ask questions. Drive. Now. I don't even remember the drive to her parents' house. It was a blur of headlights, stop signs, and my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. By the time I got there, I felt sick, because I knew what had just happened. He wasn't just sending emails. He wasn't just lurking. He was waiting for me, and I had no idea what would have happened if I hadn't noticed him in time. The next day, I went to the police. I had screenshots of the emails. I had texts from my friends who had seen him lurking. I had everything I needed to prove that this wasn't just paranoia. But do you know what they said? Has he physically threatened you? Did he say he was going to hurt you? I told them about the jokes, about the way he used to smirk when he said he would kill me and get away with it. They barely reacted. But, did he actually threaten you? I wanted to scream. Wasn't that the whole point? That he didn't have to? That I was supposed to just wait until it was too late? They told me there wasn't much they could do. Not unless he made a direct threat or committed a crime. So I asked them a question. How many women who are killed by their exes go to the police before it happens? That made them pause. One officer sighed, leaned forward. Look, off the record, you're doing the right thing by staying away from him. Trust your gut. If he keeps showing up, come back. I nodded. But deep down, I knew that by the time he did something that counted as a real threat, it might be too late. So I decided I wasn't going to wait. That night, I packed a bag. I called my boss, told her I was leaving town. Then, I booked a one-way ticket. By the next morning, I was gone. When I left town, I told myself it was over. That I had escaped. That I was safe. But the thing about men like him, they don't just stop. They don't just let go. I had changed my number, moved across state lines, started a new life in a place where he had no connections, no reason to find me. And for months it worked. I felt normal again. I made new friends, found a new job, met a man who never joked about killing me. A man who treated me like I was actually worth something. For the first time in a long time, I let myself believe that part of my life was over, until I got the email. It was a random Tuesday. I was at work sipping my coffee, going through messages, and there it was, an email from an address I didn't recognize. No subject line, no preview text, just my name. I clicked on it before I even thought. And as soon as I saw the first line, I felt sick. I know you won't respond, but I just needed to say this. It was him. Again. After all this time, after everything, he had found me. I didn't finish reading. I slammed my laptop shut and just sat there, heart pounding, hands shaking. How did he find me? I had been so careful. No mutual friends, no public posts about where I lived, no trace of my new life online. And yet, here he was, still watching. I wanted to ignore it, pretend I never saw it. But I couldn't. Because if he could find my email, what else could he find? Where I worked? Where I lived? How long until he was standing outside my door again? That night, I showed my boyfriend. He read the email in silence, then looked at me. We're going to the police. I wanted to argue, to tell him it was pointless, that they wouldn't do anything, that he hadn't really threatened me. But then I remembered what the officer told me before I left. Trust your gut. And my gut was telling me this wasn't over. At the police station, I handed them everything. The emails, the texts, the old screenshots from when we were dating. This time I was in a different state, different laws, and this time they took it seriously. The officer looked through everything, then nodded. We can file for a restraining order. If he tries to contact you again, he'll be arrested. That was all I needed to hear, because even a piece of paper wouldn't stop him if he was really determined. It sent a message. I wasn't running anymore. I don't know if he ever saw it coming. But a week later, I got a call from the officer. He was served the papers today. They told me he didn't say much. Didn't ask questions, just nodded and walked away. And after that, he disappeared. That was a year ago, and I haven't heard from him since. I don't know where he is. I don't want to know. All I know is that I survived. I trusted my gut. I walked away. I fought back before it was too late. And because of that, I'm still here, alive, safe, and free. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's this. When your gut tells you something is wrong, listen. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And when a man jokes about hurting you, when he tests your boundaries, when he refuses to stop, it's not just a joke, it's a warning. And you don't have to wait to find out how the story ends.